Visit licensureexams.com and try our samples completely free of charge.
Okay, so let's jump straight in. This is Bipolar I, Bipolar II, and Cyclomania, a quick run-through, getting ready for your licensure exam. We're going to move through Bipolar I, Bipolar II, and cyclothymic disorder in that order, then end with a knowledge check to make sure you get it. When you hear Bipolar I want you to think, this is the big one. This is the big kahuna. Even if depression never shows up in your client's story, once you've got a real manic episode, the diagnosis is Bipolar I. In everyday life, that might be a client who's sleeping maybe 1 to 3 hours and swearing up and down they feel amazing, talking nonstop, jumping from idea to idea, starting businesses at 3 a.m., spending money they don't have, and maybe just quitting their job on a whim. Other people are worried. You're definitely concerned, and sometimes it gets so intense that it results in an ER visit. Maybe the police are called, or you see things like grandiose, I am the chosen one type of beliefs or paranoid ideas. When you hear that kind of major life blow-up wrapped around in a super upbeat mood, your exam brain should think, okay, that sounds majorly like mania. Let's think Bipolar I. On to the second point. Now let's slide over to Bipolar II, and I'm going to slow this one down a bit because the exam, really enjoys tripping you up here. With Bipolar II, you never have mania, but you do have hypomania and at least one full major depressive episode. Hypomania is basically a lighter version of mania. Your client's mood and energy is up, but not so high that their life completely falls apart. So think of hypomania like this. Your client is more talkative than usual, more social, more confident, and maybe more flirtatious. They've got a bunch of ideas and start extra projects and seem to need less sleep, maybe 4 to 6 hours instead of their normal 8, without any problems. Your client isn't staying up all night for days on end in full mania, and they don't end up in the hospital or lose their cookies just from being in that state. Other people notice that they're on, seem maybe a little too intense or a little risky, but come Monday, they still show up to work, pay those bills, and mostly keep their life together. Remember, that's the key exam difference. Mania blows massive holes in your client's functioning or leads to psychosis or hospitalization. On the other hand, hypomania is noticeable and can cause problems, but it doesn't completely derail their life. Then, in Bipolar II, those hypomanic stretches sit next to real, full-on depressive episodes with at least 2 weeks of low mood or loss of interest, plus the classic stuff like sleep and appetite changes, low energy, and trouble functioning. So if the question, stem, or narrative describes someone with repeated, serious depressions and these super productive, super social, less sleep periods that never wreck their life, and there's no history of a full manic blow-up, that's when you want to think, okay, this is definitely hypomania, so I'm probably looking at Bipolar II and not Bipolar I. Third point. Now let's talk about cyclothymic disorder. Sometimes therapists casually call it cyclomania, but what we're really getting at is this longer-term up and down mood pattern that never quite hits full criteria. Here, the vibe is less, and you'll hear them saying, I've always been kind of up and down, but that's just how I roll. Or things like, I'm moody, or my friends say they never know which version of me they're going to get. You get stretches where mood and energy are a little higher, more talkative, more active, maybe some mild risk-taking, but not enough to call it mania or even a clean hypomanic episode. Then there are stretches of feeling low and tired, but not enough symptoms or not long enough to meet full major depression. The key is the time frame. This back and forth has been happening for at least a couple of years, with no more than about 2 months in a row of feeling really steady. On an exam, when the narrative is all about this is just how I've been for years, and the highs and lows never quite hit full diagnostic thresholds, that will point you towards cyclothymic disorder. And on a side note, I just want to say, I really appreciate that you're spending the time to learn these differences so you can sit with clients and spot what's going on more accurately. It really matters that you're putting this kind of thought and care into your work. And it doesn't hurt if you pick up an extra point that may push you over the top on the exam. Here's your knowledge check. You are seeing Jordan, a 28-year-old who says, "My mood's been all over the place, like forever." For about 5 years, Jordan has noticed periods lasting 3 to 4 days of feeling kind of up, talking more and feeling more confident, needing a bit less sleep, and taking on extra projects at work. At other times, he feels tired, unmotivated, and less interested in activities, but these lows never last long enough or become severe. There is no history of hospitalization, psychosis, or arrests. He reports that he's always been like this, and his mom has always said he's moody. So what do you think? A. Bipolar I disorder. B. Bipolar II disorder. C. Cyclothymic disorder. Or D. Recurrent major depressive disorder. If I could carry a tune, I'd be singing the Jeopardy song just right about now. But take a second and think about it. The best answer is, are you ready for it? The correct answer is D, recurrent major depressive disorder. Nah, just kidding. C is really the correct answer, cyclothymic disorder. The important parts are the long time frame, about 5 years, the constant swings, and the fact that none of those shifts meet full criteria for mania, hypomania, or a major depressive episode. That rules out bipolar I because you never see a big manic episode with a major life fallout. It also rules out bipolar II because there's no clear major depressive episode and no fully defined hypomanic episode. Recurrent major depressive disorder doesn't fit because the client isn't just low, there are also repeated up periods with more energy and less sleep. So you're left with this chronic, wavy, subthreshold mood pattern over a couple of years. That's exactly what points to cyclothymic disorder. So, that's a take regarding bipolar I, bipolar II, and cyclomania. As you're studying, or actually sitting for your licensure exam, if you notice yourself getting stuck, ask yourself these questions. Do I see mania anywhere? Yes? Think bipolar I. If no mania, do I see hypomania plus full major depression? If yes, bipolar II. If neither, but lots of up and down for years, I should be thinking cyclothymic disorder. And that simple decision path will get you through a lot of narratives. Hey, I'm really glad and appreciate that you carved out the time to sort through these. The more fluent you become, the more confident you'll feel both during the exam and at your office. And remember, it's in there.